Hello and welcome to Record Sports Hotline Live. My name is Daniel Cott, and as always, I am delighted to be joined by Record Sports Scott McDermott and Scott Burns, the two Scots. Guys, how's it going?
Good, Daniel.
The
Thank you.
Record Sports version of the Neville brothers.
As long as Scott's Phil, that's all right.
No, it's great to be joined by you both on this fine Tuesday evening. Scott, I think the only place for us really to start is Rangers, because they've announced their financial results for today for the last financial year. The headline figures, if you're a Rangers fan, don't make for great reading. The £17.2 million loss, loans taken out of £4 million, with provisions to take out another £9 million in loans. It's pretty stark.
It is. I mean, none of us are accountants on here, Daniel, but I don't think you need to be an accountant to know that it doesn't make good reading. And listen, it just feeds into that kind of air of that kind of cloud of negativity that's kind of over Rangers at the minute. And I don't think, listen, of the odd good result like last week in Europe, but it doesn't really. No, it's kind of papering over cracks, I think, a lot of the time. And look, the headline grabber is 17.2 million loss, I think it is, which is really literally the bottom line. I think I'm right in saying when Celtic's accounts came out recently, they'd made 17 million profit. So it kind of just highlights that kind of gulf and that gap that we've spoke about so many times on here. It's obviously been a really disappointing year for them. We know that they're trying to change it. No, in terms of the football side, Philippe Clement's been told he has to change it in terms of signing players on lower wages. He's had very little kind of finance to work with in terms of trying to rebuild the squad. So they are trying, but the worrying thing is it doesn't. No, it's hard to see it getting any better, Daniel, certainly in the next 12 months, because you look at the Champions League exit, obviously, to Dynamo Kiev, and Rangers are they're not selling players for profit, and that's the problem. I know everybody bangs on about player trading model, but ultimately, in the summer they let go an array of talent. When you think the players that went out the door, and basically didn't get a penny for them, and that's a big problem. As I say, Clement is trying to fix that, but he's admitted himself that can take 2 or 3 years to kick in. So you think of that, the Champions League exit, the money that it's going to cost them, or it's cost them to rent Hampden at the start of the season. It's not been a great year on or off the pitch, and as I say, it's going to be a real challenge for them, a real challenge for the club, a real challenge for people like John Gilligan, who's in there just now on an interim basis, to try and turn that around. But as you say, when you see those figures, those kind of stark figures, it does just highlight. It highlights the gap there, and it highlights the challenge Rangers have got in front of them.
Before I bring you in, Burnsy, let me hit you both with some of the comments that have been sent into us. Kieran Conley explains why so many board members left and why they've not been replaced. We all know they were skint, but an operating loss of 17.2 million is horrific, especially for a club plying its trade in Scotland. Thanks, Phil. A bit harsh on Phil Clement, I think. But Drew Ashcroft, never mind the loans, get rid of some of the dud players. And one more here from John Neal. As a lifelong Gers fan, I would like to know where has the money gone. And Burnsy, that's one that struck me. I mean, this isn't a club that's been languishing in the bottom divisions, like they previously were. In the last 3 years, they've won Domestic League, the Scottish Cup, the League Cup. They've won, they got to a European final. They've been in the Champions League group stages, another Europa League sort of run to the knockout stages. Why is there such a black hole when it comes to the finances?
I mean, they've obviously brought in a lot of players on big money in terms of what Rangers spend. You know what I mean? After the European run, they did invest heavily. They put the wages up significantly, and that is now obviously they can no longer afford to run at those levels, and that's why Philippe Clement has had to get rid of a number of players. He had to free up the wage bill and bring his own players, and he had to do that in the summer. You know what I mean? But I mean, some of the money that Rangers have spent in wages and players, but they've let some of them walk out the door, and some of them have left this summer, and Rangers are still paying a significant chunk of their wages, a big wage, just to get rid of them. So I think, so for me, that would you know, we better just using the wage and using a quality player rather than just let him go and freeing up, I don't know, 10 grand over a 30 grand wage or whatever. You know what I mean, I know that it's basically been trying to penny pinch to try and free up money for Clement, but I just think they've made a backside of it. Too many players who. The other issue you've got is that you've got a change of manager. Every manager that comes in brings in their own players. When Michael Beale brought in several players, he thought he was there for the long term. That a lot of them have been wiped out. Clement's now in, he's bringing in players. He thinks he's there for the long term. You can't keep just changing the managers and then changing the squads, and that financially leaves a big massive hole.
They're also still paying the previous two managers, which is going to hit them in the pocket.
The previous two, Scott, Gio Van Bronckhorst as well,
and Michael Beale, So,
wow.
The other thing you're talking about, where's the money going? I mean, you're right, as well as everything you mentioned. No, a few years ago, they looked like they had got they were starting to get the player trading model right in terms of the Calvin Bassey money, the Nathan Patterson, Joe Aribo, even Glenn Kamara. So a few years ago, on the last few, there has been money come in, but that seems to have stopped. And as Scott touched on, ultimately the reason that stops is poor recruitment, and that's what they've been guilty of in the last couple of years. You think of the money that Gio and Michael Beale spent on players who have not or will not get Rangers any money back on, and clubs like Rangers and Celtic in this environment in Scottish football, you can't survive like that. It can't be that way. So that's what they need to get back to. But as I say, they're at the start, as Philippe Clement keeps saying, they're at the start of a new cycle now. And it's all right. It's okay. I'm talking about the likes of Jeff Day or Hamza Igaman or whatever. That's fine. These guys might make a profit, but you're talking, this is 2-3 years down the line. So Rangers need to be competing for trophies now, and that's the huge challenge, and it's what I think fans kind of struggle to get their head round at, how they've ended up in this position. As you say, a couple of years ago, a European final, challenging for titles, having previously won the title, and getting into the Champions League, and now, for whatever reason, they look a million miles away from that.
Yeah. How many players in that squad would command a big transfer fee? I don't think there are many.
No,
not at the moment. You'd probably say no.
That's the issue as well. You know what I mean?
No,
that side.
I'd forgot, Scott, about Calvin. What was Calvin Bassey? 20 million?
Yeah, 20 million that they signed basically in a free for Leicester.
Joe Aribo, 10 million. Kamara, something similar. That's a lot of money.
I know. It just shows you the money they've been spending, Daniel, and they still end up in this position. It's just not been good enough, and that's been a couple of kind of different regimes, I suppose you could say, in terms of changes at boardroom level, and different directors of football, recruitment directors, whatever you call them. But the recruitment in the last few years simply hasn't been good enough, and they're paying the price for that, as well as other things like the whole Copeland Road fiasco and having to pay for Hampden and stuff like that. And listen, there was one or two positives in the accounts the day. They've managed to get certain figures down. They're obviously free of litigation for the first time in a few years. So there's a few kind of crumbs of comfort, but there's no getting away from that headline figure, and that's the one every fan will latch onto. So it doesn't make for good reading.
On the comment section, Mark Bell, watching live on Facebook, says if they finish third and sack the manager, it'll kill them again. Sort of echoing what you were saying, Burnsy. And that's where I have a lot of sympathy for Philippe Clement, because Rangers don't look great at the moment, and he's the manager. Buck stops with him, but it's not like he's had a particularly good deck to play with, is it? I mean, it just seems like a basket case behind the scenes. But on the field matters, guys. Of course, Rangers take on Aberdeen tomorrow night at Pittodrie, and it's got the makings of an absolutely massive game. I mentioned Philippe Clement there. He was speaking to the press this afternoon, and let's get a little flavour of what he said.
Is this a game you feel you have to win tomorrow night?
We have to win every game. We have to win the first game of the season and we have to win the last game of the season. So there's no difference in that. We always want to win every game.
What would a win do you feel, not only for the league table but for the confidence and belief of?
There is a lot of confidence and belief in the team. It would help from the outside, maybe, the perception around the team and the evolution that the team is making. In that way, it can help a lot, but all the team has confidence to go there, to get a good result, but also a lot of respect towards Aberdeen, what they've been doing in this beginning of the season, and how they have played and how they took their points. So it's going to be a huge battle, like they showed also against other good teams in the league, that they played really well.
You talk about the perception of the team. Is the outside perception maybe different from what you see? You talk about there being a lot of potential in this squad and what you can do going forward, but a lot of people are focusing on the here and now and what they expect from the squad now. Do you think there's a bit of a disparity between the outside view and the view inside?
About the idea what the squad is now and what it will be in a couple of months, yeah, for sure. But that's normal. That's normal because people who don't see everything that's going on in the building, how people are training, how they are reacting, how they are playing, and you're not busy with that process, you only look at the results or one moment. And even then it can be one moment really good, whoa, this is a really good player, and next week he doesn't score and it's a really bad player. I think Černý is a really good example in that way. 2-3 weeks ago he was for some people a really bad player, and then he scored 5 goals in 4 games. So it's important as a player, as a manager, as a club, not to leave those emotions, because if you do that, you will never create stability.
Rangers boss Philippe Clement there. Scott, I don't want to turn this into a really depressing show for Rangers fans and Philippe Clement, but let me run through a couple of the comments that we've had in on tomorrow night's game. Richard Littlejohn, been a Bear since 1978. I hope we lose at Pittodrie. The sooner Clement is gone and a new boss going in the right direction comes in, the better. Eddie Easton, this could be the final nail in the coffin for Phil the Lip. A defeat in the Granite City. We'll see his ramshackle team fall 9 points behind the leaders. On the other hand, a Rangers win opens a gap between the Dons and Celtic. Scott, are we getting to the point now where Philippe Clement might be getting sacked if he doesn't win tomorrow night, I guess?
Well, listen, that's the big dilemma for the Rangers board, Daniel, and I'm kind of torn myself on this in terms of your kind of opinion on it. Because ultimately, Scott touched on it earlier on. What's the point in Rangers sacking another manager and just going through this cycle again and again and again? At some point, they need to show belief in the guy at the helm and just stick by him. And does that mean you're going to get through real tough times? Probably. And this will be one of them, especially if they don't get a result tomorrow night. The flip side of that is, listen, we all know how it works in Glasgow at the Old Firm and at Rangers or Celtic. If you're not getting results and you're second best, then you're nothing. And as you said, or as the guy said phoning in, Rangers could be third best this season. And normally that means a manager doesn't survive. I mean, at the start, I remember, I think it was you I spoke to, Daniel, myself and Keith. I think I was in Poland for the Dynamo Kiev game. It was just after the Hearts away game, first day of the season when they drew. And looking at that Rangers team and that performance, I think I said that night, I think this Rangers squad as it is going to have a real fight in its hands just to get second. And if I'm being really honest, I probably said it then, maybe get a wee bit of a reaction to see what people's views on it were. But it's coming to fruition now because no one could have predicted how Aberdeen have started, but looking at that Rangers squad at the start of the season, I just felt they would have a real battle in their hands, and that's the way it's looking. They badly need a result tomorrow night. I don't think a draw really does anything for them in terms of the league table, all that kind of negative feeling around the place, which I spoke about earlier. They need to go there and win. They need to produce a statement performance and victory to show people on the outside that this Rangers team and this manager is on the right track, and they know where they're taking. Clement knows where he's taking this team. I mean, he's talking there in the press conference about the perception on the outside and people latching on to a result or a performance. I don't agree with that. It's what you're watching. No, your eyes don't lie. The last two domestic performances Rangers have produced, away to Kilmarnock and then at the weekend, just nowhere near good enough, nowhere near the standard required, even to go and finish second and get close to Celtic. So he's got to be careful. I think we spoke a couple of weeks ago, and managers go down a certain route in press conferences where they try to kind of pull the wool over people's eyes a wee bit. It never ends well when you go down that route. So I think he's got to be careful with that. People know what they're seeing and know what's in front of them. And Rangers need to produce better performances. And if they're not at it, if they're not up for a battle and up for the atmosphere and the intensity and everything that's going to come at them at Pittodrie tomorrow night, then you can see them getting another sore one.
Mm-hmm. And Burnsy, from an Aberdeen perspective, they'll be champing at the bit to get a crack at Rangers tomorrow night.
Oh, definitely, 100%. I mean, I've seen some of the bookmakers make Rangers favourites, but I don't see how, in any shape or form, that Rangers can be favourites for this game at all. You know what I mean?
Aye.
I just don't see where. I just think. I mean, Rangers could come out and dig out a result, but as it stands in current form, I think Aberdeen will get the victory. I mean, they're playing. I mean, Aberdeen are not hitting top gear, but they're winning games. Manager knows how to change games, make subs. You know what I mean? Get results. And I think it's night and day. If you look at Aberdeen, I mean, Jimmy Taylor's come in. He's made 5-6 signings, and you look at the transformation in that Aberdeen team. You know what I mean? Look at the work that Clement's done this summer, and Rangers have gone back the way. You know what I mean? And I'll go back to the point Scott was saying. I was saying about they can't keep sacking managers, but with Philippe Clement, and if he continues this way, I don't think they can stick by him. I mean, you've got two big games here. You've got the Aberdeen game, and if he loses that, he's under pressure. And then the semi-final. I mean, if he loses both them, I don't think they can stand by him. I really don't.
No, listen, it'll get to breaking point at some stage if bad results keep coming. I mean, I said last week, as Scott touched on there, this run of 3 games, Aberdeen away, Motherwell in the Cup at Hampden, and then Olympiacos away in the Europa League. I mean, they could make or break Clement in the next 7 or 8 days. But as I say, there will always be that dilemma, that caveat of, can they really afford to sack another manager? I mean, they gave Clement a new contract, so as hard as it's going to be for Rangers to stomach any more negative results and to stomach what this season might bring in terms of battling with Aberdeen for second place, they might have no other option. I mean, listen, as I say, eventually it does get a breaking point. It depends how the results go, how bad it is, depends how strong the supporters' feelings get in terms of them kind of protesting and wanting rid of the manager, because we know when boards start feeling the heat for punters, then they normally cave in when it comes to the manager. So it remains to be seen just how bad it'll get, but he desperately needs a result. Tomorrow night. And I think the worry for Rangers fans is that they've got players in there, a lot of them who haven't been to Pittodrie on a Wednesday night, with the wind blowing a gale, the place packed to the rafters, and Aberdeen, up and at them right for the off, and that's my worry for Rangers, is whether these players have got the mentality to go and deal with that. I don't doubt they've got certain individuals like Czerny, as Clement mentioned, Bayrami's another one. People like that who, if they bring their A game, can produce something special, and are probably better than anything that Aberdeen have got, with all due respect. But if they don't, and they're not ready for it, they're not ready for that physical battle, and they're not ready for the mentality of just dealing with the whole occasion and what they've got in store, then they're going to struggle. And I agree with Scott on the face of it. It's difficult to see how Rangers are favourites. I mean, a few days ago Aberdeen were 3-1 with the bookies, which I just thought was a incredible price. That if you're an Aberdeen fan, you'd be jumping on. Maybe if you're a Celtic fan, you'd be jumping on it as well. But it's hard to see, looking at Rangers' last two domestic performances. It's difficult to see how they go up there and get a result. But listen, they might produce something. They've produced it a couple of times in Europe, away to Malmo, home to Stoya Bucharest. I know they were no great shakes, but on occasion they turn up and produce a performance, and they'll need to do that tomorrow night, or they'll not get anything.
The fact is, Aberdeen, they'll be sold out tomorrow night. Yeah. That's the third game on the bounce. I mean, Aberdeen are lucky if they've sold it 3 times. And when I talk about sellouts, I'm talking about genuine sellouts, away fans and that as well. I mean, in recent years, the city has got right behind them. I think they all feel that there's something special coming, and this team can really achieve this season. You know what I mean? Because 15 games unbeaten so far. You know what I mean? The one drop points with the two at Celtic, where they come back from 2-0 down. There's a real belief there. And it's not just a starting 11. Every player is coming on and making an impact. Even players who looked surplus to requirements last season. Aberdeen looked the real deal. I don't think they'll drop many points. Outside maybe when the head-to-heads with maybe Celtic or Rangers, I don't think they'll drop too many points. And if it goes to 9 points, I think Rangers will struggle to catch them.
I'm sorry, Daniel. I was impressed with Aberdeen at the weekend. Probably the first time I'd watched them properly live against Dundee United, and I was just impressed by how they went about it in the second half. They looked like a team who had a real confidence and belief in what they were doing. They looked like a team who believed they belonged at the top of the league. The biggest compliment I can pay them in the second half, it was 0-0 at half time, it was kind of itchy-peachy in the first half, but in the second half, they took control of the game. They played the way Rangers or Celtic would normally do in a second half against a smaller club. And that's no disrespect to Dundee United. That's just how Aberdeen played the game. And they were patient. If you can be patient and kind of relentless at the same time, that's what they did, because they were all over Dundee United, but they were patient, waiting for the chance to come along. And as Scott said there, the boy Ambrose comes off the bench to score the winner. I mean, what Tallinn has done with that squad and guys who are miles out the picture is incredible. I mean, Ambrose is 5th choice striker at Aberdeen. 5th choice. I mean, you look at the Rangers.
I had to Google him at the weekend.
Right. Listen, you look at the Rangers squad. Philippe Clement has got 2 options up front. Cyril Dessers, who's the first pick. And your second choice is a 19-year-old Moroccan who's clearly not quite ready to go and lead the line for Rangers. That's his 2 options up front. That's it for Rangers. Aberdeen they've had Pappy Guy, who was first choice. They've got Sockler, they've got Duke, they've got Kevin Nisbet, and then they've got Ambrose coming off the bench. What Clement would give for those options in an attacking area. So that's just a wee example of how close Aberdeen might actually be to Rangers. And as I say, if they get a result tomorrow night to go 9 clear, as Scott said, I mean, Rangers are going to struggle to get it back. Everybody's expecting Aberdeen to at some point fall off the cliff, but there's no signs of that at the minute.
What I would say as well, just finally on this, is Aberdeen, right? They've won 14 games and they've drawn 1. And I don't think they've hit top gear or anywhere near it. So I think they will only improve. In the recent games, they've won by 1 goal, but I still think there's a lot to go.
Interesting. Well, I need to move on, guys, and talk about the rest of the card. But you know how I like putting you in the spot. What's your predictions for tomorrow night? In fact, I'll go first just to take the weight off. Based on absolutely nothing, and I'm going to get a mountain of stick for this in the comment section, no doubt. I can kind of see Rangers going up there and getting some sort of result. I think maybe 1-1. But as I said, it's based on nothing. They've only scored one away goal this season, Rangers. But aye, what do you guys think?
I'm going to follow you in with that, Daniel. I think Rangers might only be able to get a draw. Clement cannot lose this game, and for that reason, I think they'll probably take something. But by the same token, as I said earlier, I find it hard to envisage Rangers going up there and winning with this team. So I think it will be a draw, probably one each, which will be a far better result for Aberdeen than it will be for Rangers.
Mm-hmm. Burnsy?
I don't see Aberdeen losing the game. And I genuinely think there's a belief there that will win it, and I think they will win it. I think they'll win it probably 2-1, 3-1 maybe. But I genuinely think that it could be a bad night for Rangers.
I guess we'll see in time. Elsewhere tomorrow night, Celtic are hosting Dundee in their Premiership clash. The one takeaway from Brendan Rodgers' press conference today, Scott, was he mentioned the tackle from Liam Gordon on Adam Ida, which Stuart Kettlewell came out and said he didn't think it was a red, and he sort of said it was harsh. Rodgers today saying he thinks in the cold light of day, Kettlewell will see that it was a red. Nick O'Donnell here on Facebook saying it was a career-ending tackle. The player should get a 12-match ban. I don't know about that, but it was a shocker.
Nah, listen, I don't agree with that. I understand where Stuart Kettlewell's coming from in the heat of the moment, Daniel, right after the game. He sees it as a slide tackle. He's defender, no deliberately trying to get in and hurt Adam Ida, but ultimately he does. No, he's too high and he just catches him. Well, he catches him really, really badly, and it could have caused Ida a serious injury. And I think I like Stuart Kettlewell, and he's always really, really honest and really open in his kind of assessments, especially after games. But I think now in the cold light of day, he'll look back on it and think it probably as a red card. Well, as a red card. And in terms of Rodgers, I think he was right today. He'll just be hoping. Obviously, I think he does going for scans and stuff. You just need to hope that they come back okay, and there's no any kind of long-lasting damage there, because we just touched on Rangers only having two striking options. I mean, essentially Celtic have got two main strikers, albeit the two of them have been fantastic for them, but he won't want to have to be without Ida for any length of time. So, but no, it was a bad tackle, and I think now Liam Gordon and Stuart Kettlewell will accept that.
If you're Celtic, Bundy, it's a no-lose tomorrow night, unless they actually lose, I guess, with Aberdeen and Rangers playing each other. I mean, at least one of them will drop points.
No, that's it. I mean, Celtic won't be looking anywhere else. Celtic will just be concentrating. They know they win their games. That's all they'll be focused on, and that's it. I mean, and they're getting Dundee, who I know they beat Motherwell the other week, but they're not in a great run of form. I mean, and you'd fancy Celtic to win that game in the Luke McKeown derby. And I mean, and actually Celtic signing Luke McKeown. You know what I mean? He's made an instant impact at Celtic, but you see the loss to Dundee already. You know what I mean? So,
well, that's a good point, Bundy. I'll throw this out to both of you. He started obviously the win against Motherwell. Luke McKeown, I thought he was excellent. Would you keep him in the team for tomorrow night over Arne Engels, or would you reinstate Engels, or how do you see it?
I think because it's Dundee, I think they might keep him in and keep Engels for the semi-final. That's my shout. That's what I think might happen, but what do I know? I'm no Brendan Rodgers.
You'd be disappointed, Scott, if you were Luke McKeown and you did get dropped for tomorrow.
You would, but listen, I think Luke McKeown, he's obviously ambitious and he wants to be a first-team regular for Celtic, but I think he'll also know his place in the kind of pecking order. And ultimately, I think this is the beauty of Brendan Rodgers just as a manager, or certainly one of his main qualities is that he is very good at keeping people happy. Players that might not be playing every week. Everyone in the squad feels involved and feels that they've got a role to play and feels that they can make a contribution. I think McCowan will be feeling that already. He'll feel as if he's done that already in the games that he's come in. But listen, they signed Arnie Engels for 10, 11 million for a reason. I don't think Brendan Rodgers will just be holding him back for European games. So, listen, I'm not sure. Scott might be right. I mean, McCowan might keep his place tomorrow night. When you think Celtic have got Aberdeen at Hampden and then Leipzig in the Champions League in their next two fixtures, maybe it is a chance to give Luke McCowan another 90 minutes. But Scott's right. I mean, in terms of the loss to Dundee, and I probably underestimated just how big an influence McCowan had on that Dundee team. Scott will probably know more than me. But you're seeing it. You're seeing it now. You're seeing the big difference. He's been a huge loss to Dundee, and he's proved his quality by being able just to step into that Celtic team almost seamlessly, fit into that midfield, and certainly no look out of place.
Time is getting away from us, guys, but before we wrap up, I'm going to just run you through the full card of fixtures for tomorrow night. So we've obviously mentioned Celtic, Dundee and Aberdeen Rangers, St Mirren, St Johnstone, Dundee United, Motherwell has the makings of a really good game. Neil Critchley's Hearts take on Killick Tynecastle. But that one there, Ross County against Hibs, that is a monumental game, I think, for David Gray and Hibernian because, well, put it this way, it's not a game I would bet on them winning.
No.
And if they don't win it, they're starting to get kind of cut adrift, maybe.
It's funny, when I looked at the fixtures today, Daniel, I did think, just as you've alluded to there, I mean, Ross County away, probably the last game David Gray wanted. I mean, I know that sounds daft. Ross County are kind of no only that far up the table, but just going up to Dingwall, a midweek, the kind of game you know you're going to get. You're not going to get a chance to play, probably play the football that David Gray or Hibs want to play. You're right, it's a massive game coming off the disappointment of losing the late goal in the derby. He's under huge pressure. I like David Gray. I was at his press conference last week before the derby game. I think he talks well. You almost want him to do well. For everything that he is a good coach, you can tell the players really like him, but he knows himself. It's all about results, and Hibs can't stay in the bottom two of the league for much longer. They need to put a run together, so they need to go up to Dingwall. No matter what it's like, no matter what the weather's like, no matter what the game's like, they need to get a positive result up there, because you're right. I mean, if that goes against him again, he's going to be under massive pressure for the supporters.
Do you think they will get a positive result, Scott?
You know what? I'm going to say they will. I think they will. I think they've got enough. Listen, we all know their defensive deficiencies. They were showing up again at the weekend late on against Hearts. But you look at the attacking threat that they've got. Yuan came back at the weekend. They've got Boyo, Kucharia, Dwight Gale obviously came close to scoring at the weekend. Junior Hoylett. They've surely got enough to go up to Ross County and get a result. Especially with what's at stake. I mean, the players will know what's at stake. They know the manager's under pressure. I'm going to back them. I think they'll go up there and get a victory.
Regardless of tomorrow night's results, Burnsy, it's mental that we're going into the start of November and the bottom two teams in the Premiership are Hearts and Hibs. That just doesn't seem right to me.
Yeah, I mean, as they say, the league table doesn't lie. So that tells you where both clubs are at the moment. I think obviously Hearts at the European stuff, Stephen Naismith paid the price. I think they're on their way up under Neil Critchley. I do think they'll pull away. Hibs, I'm not convinced at all. I think they'll get beat tomorrow night at Ross County. I mean Ross County, their success is based on their home form. I'm not sure Hibs teams have got the character to go up there midweek and dig out a result. I'm not sure if the players are actually good enough to dig themselves out and go into the fight for a relegation zone, to get out of the relegation zone. That's the big thing. And it's an inexperienced manager. I just think the alarm bells are ringing. But the only way to stop that is by winning games as it stands. You don't see the evidence of that so far, unless things click very quickly. But as it stands, I don't see it.
Well, whatever happens, it's not going to be boring, guys. Thank you very much for joining me on tonight's Hotline Live. I really appreciate it. And for everyone that's sitting in the comments as well, thank you very much. We'll be back tomorrow to pour over all of the results from a packed Wednesday night. But until then, Scott, thanks very much.
Cheers, Daniel.
Yes, Daniel.
And thanks for watching at home. Cheers.